We are happy, we're enthusiastic, and excited for a chance to talk to Trae Young. If you guys go to Hawks games, obviously you know Ray is Trey's father. Trey's the biggest star in our city, and therefore he gets a lot of conversation, not only on this show, but from all over the country. And Ray, we appreciate you coming on today, man. I hope everything's cool with the fam. Everybody is doing well, and thank you again for joining us here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Everything is going great. Thank you guys for having me on, and I'm excited to be on with you guys. This is my favorite radio station in Atlanta, and I'm just glad that you guys even make Trey one of the subjects of your conversations during the day. He's excited to be a Hawk, and I'm excited to be on the radio with you guys.
We were just talking about it, Ray. If we had a little more scoring, it looks like we could have beat the Celtics.
I know, man. I know. I think this is one of the years where it's wide open, and I thought the Celtics would kind of run through the Eastern Conference, but watching what I'm watching now, I'm like, man, we really had a chance. We're still very young. We need some more veterans and older guys that have been through those battles. But man, I think we missed out on an opportunity this year for sure.
We're talking with Trae Young, guys. Trae Young's father here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. It's Dukes and Bell. Ray, was the season hard for you? I mean, watching it unfold? I mean, listen, it was – Mike and I were like, coaching changes and all. It seemed like there was turmoil. Was it hard for you to watch this season play out?
Well, it's always hard for me, first off, because I'm a dad. And, I'm also a big basketball fan, a huge NBA fan, but having a son who's involved in it, it's always hard. I take every loss, just as hard as Trey does. And I look back at the season every year, and I sit down and talk to Trey, and I'm like, man, what if we would have beat Charlotte, those 3 times instead of losing to them? What if we would have beat Houston, at Houston, or some of these games that, not to disrespect any other team, but some of those games that we should have won, that totally changes the whole playoff situation. And now we're 4 or 5 seed, and Trey's in New York again playing against the Knicks, or maybe, playing against Cleveland. So it's just, to answer your question, it is hard. And knowing that, we lost Coach Nate in the middle of the season, who I really respected as a coach, and I think he's a great man and a great leader. It was just a tough season all the way around.
It is Trae Young with us, guys. Trey's dad's with us here on the WaitForIt.com hotline. Hopefully we'll get Trey in studio at some point. One of the things, Ray, we talked about earlier, when we brought Kyrie in, I should say, when we brought in the new point guard, DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, DeJounte.
I always thought it was going to be more of Trey, like getting open looks and just leading the league in 3-point scoring. And it just seems like it was tough to get 2 ball-dominant guys to make it work.
Well, I think that's tough to ask, right off the bat. I don't know how much time they got in the off season, and I will say this: Nate McMillan has been successful as a coach in the NBA, and you can't take anything away from him. But I don't know if his system would call for that type of game from Trey. But I do know with Quinn. I mean, Quinn's great. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. The way he coaches, the way he resonates with his players, on the court and off the court, I think is just going to be tremendous for my son. But I can see a lot of that happening under Quinn. I don't want to, speak too soon, but just knowing him and the way he coaches and the way he likes to get up and down and shoot a lot of threes, I can definitely see, Trey doing a lot of that, here in the future, playing for the Hawks.
We're talking with Trae Young, guys. Trae Young's dad here on the show. It's Dukes and Bell. I saw the photo of you and Jason Tatum's dad. I know you guys are cool, playing some golf. Yeah. I know you guys are talking some trash. I mean, talk about that relationship, because you do know a lot of these guys well, right? Trey coming up playing, travel ball and AAU and all the stuff. A lot of these guys we're seeing that we have to get through or try to play to get to a championship. You know these guys pretty well, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that a lot of fans don't get to see, and I wish they could, is I hear the old heads, which I'm considered one of those old heads that used to watch the game, and guys hated each other and they used to fight and punch each other, and now you got guys hugging after every game and going out to dinner and hanging out in the off season, and that's because they grew up playing together. They all grew up playing against each other in camps, and staying in the same hotels or dorm rooms at these Nike and Adidas camps as kids. So for us dads, we have our little fraternity too, where we all know each other and we look up to the elder fathers in the NBA, the Chris Pauls, dads and other guys who have been there before us. So I think the NBA is definitely close knit when it comes to families and the players, but it all starts when they're in grade school and these kids are playing against each other, from the 4th and 5th grade. So Justin did talk a lot of smack. He thought we had a big bet. I won't say how much it is, but he said they were going to sweep us, and I'm like, we're not going to get swept. I guarantee my son's not going to let us get swept. So I really thought it was going to go 7 games because after we won that first game, he called me and he's like, okay, let's double nothing and say that you guys won't get another game. And then that's when Trey went down there and hit the deep one in game 5, I think it was. So he still hadn't paid me yet, but yeah, we had a big bet, during that series, and it was fun.
I was looking at your numbers, Ray, at Texas Tech, 38% from 3. Did you talk trash on the floor back in the day?
Man, I was that guy that I was so small that I had to talk trash to be able to pump myself up. I couldn't do a lot with my size. I was only 5'11", but I was super fast and I would, play defense, but Trey took his game to a whole nother level. I mean, I couldn't shoot like him or pass like him, but as far as, playing with heart, being a small guy, I had a pretty decent career at Texas Tech. So I'm just so proud of my son that he was able to, take what I had and just run with it. He's done some amazing things so far.
Ray, we were talking about the events that Trey has coming up in Atlanta. He's giving back to the community, which I absolutely love because that's what it's about for our stars. What do you think, Trey, what do you think Atlanta means to Trey?
Well, it's, you're going to make me get emotional on this phone, man. I wasn't, prepared for all this, but I just think, for us as a family, first and foremost, we can't thank the city enough for giving my son that opportunity. And I'll never forget sitting in New York at that table and Trey just, hoping that he was able to go play in Atlanta. I know he had a relationship with Quavo at the time and a lot of other, artists and entertainers in Atlanta, but it was more than that. Trey wanted to go somewhere where nothing like a NBA championship has been done before. I know he's always been an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. He's always been a Kobe fan with the Lakers, and it would have been cool to go to New York or Boston, but for him to be that type of kid that wants to come here and bring that first championship to Atlanta, that's what it was all about. And I can't even explain to you how fun it was that, that rookie year when he hit his first game winner and, he went to the baseline and said, "This is my city." That
Right.
that was something I'll never forget. And hopefully the fans in Atlanta just understand how much he loves and appreciates that city. There's no place that he can't go where fans recognize him and they want pictures and autographs. And, hopefully that never changes. And he knows it's a business at the end of the day. And, this is just one chapter of his life. But hopefully this is one of those chapters that'll never be forgotten, and he's able to help his team, bring a ring to the city.
It is Trey's dad, man, talking with Ray Young here on the WadeFord.com hotline. I know, Ray, we talked about this, but because he did so much superstar stuff so early in his career, like the 21 season, taking over the Garden, beating the Sixers, I guess fans, and certainly me as a fan and as a broadcaster, just felt like he was there. Like he was next level now.
Yeah.
But is it still about the maturation process and learning the NBA game, even for a guy with a skill set like Trey?
I really think so, because when I look at his mentors or I look at his idols, Trey's never going to sit there and tell you that Steph Curry was one of his idols because, he's still competing against him. Steph's still playing at a high level trying to win a ring like Trey is. But whenever Trey watched those guys playing at Davidson, they were in their early 20s. Steph played 3 years, 3 years in college, and then he really didn't start, becoming that Steph Curry or, that person he is now until his 6th or 7th year. So, with Trey, I know that's not he doesn't want to use that as an excuse, but I have to remind him all the time, you're only 23, 24 years old, and, you have to grow into this process. I mean, you're still, becoming that man that you're going to be, here a few years from now, and when you become that player that I know you can be, and he knows he can be, it's going to be scary because, like you said, the numbers that he's putting up now, some of the things that he's done already at a young age is, I mean, you can't really fathom it. There's only a handful of people that have done that, and I'll throw Luka in there too. Even though that whole Trey thing happened on that day, like they both just put up gaudy numbers already in their first 4 or 5 years, and that's just something that both of them should be applauded for, but especially Trey for doing it at 6'1", which I'll say 6'2". Most people think thinks he's 5'11", but if you stand next to him, you'll see that he's taller than what people really think he is. But to answer your question, this is a business. Things have to happen, at an increased rate, and Trey wants to win as bad as anyone. But that's my role as his father, is just to remind him that you got to crawl before you walk, and he's accomplished a lot of things with his teammates in the city. And there's a lot more to accomplish.
Listen, I don't want to take this lightly, or I don't think it should be taken lightly, that your involvement with him, you raising him the way you did, has absolutely played a role in who he's become, and you need to be commended for that. But I am curious, because I've sat behind you, that he looks at you sometimes during those games, and you guys have this nonverbal communication thing that a kid has with his dad, where I look over and sometimes I'm like, is Trey looking at dad like, should I use this move or should I use that move? What is this nonverbal thing that you guys have going on?
We're getting better, man. I promise you, we're getting better at that. And actually, I'm proud of my son because, he's stepped away from that. And it's more than just basketball. It's more of a, okay, this is my happy place. This is my happy place. When I'm suffering, or I turn the ball over, or I miss a shot, or maybe John Collins was open or DeJounte Murray was open and I missed him, and I'm like, man, that's my bad. And he looks over at me, and I'm like, I just give him. There's never a negative facial expression.
Yeah.
So it's always just a happy place. But like I say, as he's gotten older, he's just he doesn't do it as much anymore. And I try not to make eye contact with him as much anymore. And I could really tell whenever Quinn came on board, it was like, wow, like he wasn't looking over at me at all, and it was kind of hurting my feelings. But I'm starting to get over it. But again, with Quinn being there, it's just you can just see the relationship, you can just see the trust, and you can see just the passion that they both have for doing something special, for this city and for this team.
It is Ray Young with us, and you bring up Quin Snyder. That's Carl can attest. I've had some bosses that I didn't see eye to eye with over my career.
It's happened.
And sometimes,
right.
And sometimes through no fault of either individual, it gets toxic. It just seems, to your point, that Quinn gets him, and that Quinn has his back.
Yeah.
And so with a full season, it just seems like the sky's the limit for this team.
I really think it is, and I think a blind man could see that through the last 20 or 30 games, whatever it was. You can just see the way they were playing. And this is, and no disrespect for anybody that was here earlier, because every time I see Lloyd Pierce, because this is a small community, right? With the NBA, the players and the coaches. Every time I see Lloyd Pierce, I give him a hug and I shake his hand, and Trey does the same thing. And I just thank him. I thank him so much for having that faith and doing what he did with my son, because as you guys know, Trey struggled a little bit, his first 20 or so games in the NBA. And I remember, Travis and Lloyd bringing Trey into the office, and they were thinking about starting, I forgot who the other guard was there for a while, but, Lloyd stuck with Trey, and, now we see what he's become. So with that being said, and no disrespect to any other coach that was here, they just aren't Quinn. Quinn is, he just gets it, man. And I think with Trey's relationship with Donovan Mitchell and those guys talking about it, before, Quinn even got here, it made Trey that much more confident, that knowing that he's going to have a coach that gets him, that's going to have his back. But not only that, he's going to push him. He's going to push him. He's going to hold him accountable, and he's going to get in his tail whenever he does things wrong. But he's also going to hug him and praise him whenever he does things right. And that's all you can ask for. And And I think that just makes for a great relationship.
Well, Ray, when you guys at some point get back to town, I know you got family stuff going on, man. We want to get you in studio and chop it up with you. Our listeners are thoroughly enjoying hearing this, and they're complimenting you on the job you've done with Trey and the star that he's become for our city. And again, I appreciate you jumping on with us after our conversation, man. So thank you so much.
No, it's all good. Well, it's all good. And just so you guys know, I'm going to make it happen. Even if I got to drag him in there, I'm going to make it happen. And, Trey will sit down with you guys. And at the end of the day, like I said, Trey came into the organization as a kid, as a young man at 19, and hopefully he leaves as an old grown man with a couple of championships. And we're all going to sit down and laugh about, everything that's happened and, cry about the successes.
That's what's up.
Outstanding.
Ray, thanks so much, man. Enjoy the day. Tell Trey we said what's up, and we'll talk to you soon.
Will do. Thank you, guys. Have a great one.
You too.
Cool.
That's Trae Young, guys. Trae Young's father. I don't know about you, but you should be thoroughly impressed with what you've heard there. He gave us a lot of insight. And I got to tell you guys, they are as close as a son and father can be. So whatever he's saying, Trey's probably saying.